As the name suggests, the new Aston Martin Dbs 770 Ultimate is the final version of the soon-to-be retired DBS, and it has, yes, 770 metric horsepower. It costs from £314,000 and they're only making 300 coupes and 199 drop tops. But what makes this car so interesting isn't the fact that it's the most powerful series production car ever to leave Gaydon, or that it looks predictably superb, especially in ultramarine black. This last-of-a-line special is about what you can't see. Marginal engineering gains all over the car that are said to substantially elevate the DBS package as a whole, and are the sort of elements that will be deployed on future Astons, including the upcoming DB12 and the replacement for the Porsche 911 chasing Vantage. It all sounds very promising, but what we want to know today is simply how well the 770 Ultimate goes down your typical British B-road.
You can see it as a DBS Superleggera, just taken up a notch a little bit in terms of powertrain. It's got the same engine gearbox combination as the regular car, so that's a 5.2 litre twin turbo V12. In this car, it doesn't put out 715 brake horsepower, it puts out 759 brake horsepower. 759 brake horsepower all through the rear wheel. Torque stays the same. This car puts out an absolute mammoth torque figure, I think 664 pound-foot. That's the same as a regular DBS Superleggera, and that's simply to stop the rear transaxle from detonating. It's right at the limit of what it can handle in terms of torque, although it's a very good box in general. Super sharp, super smooth, really adaptable, just about perfect for Super GT duties. But yeah, 759 brake horsepower in a rear drive Aston Martin coupe. And it does really make you think twice about putting your foot down in this car. But I've got to say, okay, it can unstick its tyres pretty much in any gear at any speed. But it's not a hairy, awkward thing at all. You can really lay into the throttle pedal actually, and most of the time on UK country roads it's just a question of gearing up and just leaning on that absolute wall of torque. And I mean, we're on a pretty tight and twisty B road here, but this car's mega approachable. Honestly, it's not remotely intimidating once you've sort of got on terms with the size of the thing and the length of the bonnet and whatnot. Actually, to be honest, it's got better visibility than the Vantage, and the powertrain's just as sort of easy and versatile. That's what you want from a Super GT, really. You don't want an absolute firecracker all of the time. You want something that a lot of the time you can just sit back and mooch about it.
So what exactly had they done to this car? Extra bracing front and rear has made the structure quite a bit stiffer, giving retuned dampers a better base from which to offer not only greater control, but greater comfort. Aston has also removed some damping from the steering column, which really has improved the response and accuracy of direction changes, and is useful when you've got an 1800 kilo Mega GT on your hands. There are also some aesthetic touches. Those extraterrestrial looking seats and an almighty duct in the carbon fibre bonnet are both borrowed from last year's V12 Vantage. And let's not forget the wheels, which are shamelessly ripped off the Victor concept, but who could blame Aston for that? Then there's that almighty engine, 5.2 litres of twin-turbo V12 injected with an extra 44 brake horsepower over the regular DBS Superleggera.
So what have they done to get that extra 44 horsepower uplift? Not much, really. They've tinkered a little bit with the intake and exhaust fluid dynamics, but really they've just turned up the wick on the turbochargers a little bit. Simple as that. Not as sweet as the Ferrari on the ears, but pretty wild and pretty exciting all the same. And that pickup, that mid-range roll-on acceleration is just completely unhinged. Steering, something Aston Martin does well at the moment. It's got lovely ebb and flow. It's not that rich in terms of actual feedback from the road surface, but the weighting is lovely. It's really lucid, considering that there must be an awful lot of weight over the front axle. I mean, it's got a huge bonnet, this thing, but I've got no qualms about, you know, running it right up to the edge of the road and using all the available road, which you quite often have to do.
Really, though, it's an ability to get power down cleanly, along with a newfound accuracy for the big old DBS, that elevates the 770 to gold star status. Aston has also tinkered with the torque curves to make the thing less spiky on exit, and it shouldn't be this easy to muck around in and simply enjoy using such a monstrous car. Imagine a Toyota GR86 fed anabolic steroids, then packed off to the same finishing school as the M5 CS, and you're getting close to what the 770 feels like.
You need to be a little bit comfortable with the back moving around a little bit, and to get the most out of what this car can do, you do need to let it be a little bit mobile at the back. But wow, it's confidence inspiring, and it just sort of smudges its tyres into the road surface. That's what's so impressive. The ride, the accessibility of the handling against the backdrop of such completely mammoth performance. I'm going to say it, this is the best Super GT car of the last 10 years. And you might say, okay, what about the Ferrari 812 Superfast? The 812 Superfast is a front-engined V12 car, but it's not a GT car, it's a supercar. This car murders it in terms of ride quality and usability. Honestly, this car's balance of ride and handling, absolutely spot on. It's a masterclass. That semi-active suspension, it's basically the same hardware. It's had a bit of retuning. You've got the same 3 modes for damping, you've got the same 3 modes for engine. So let's see what this feels like. I've got the dampers in Sport, which I don't actually need. You can keep them in Comfort, and I've got the engine in Sport. That's the thing, you can just tap into the performance. Whoa. Brakes are maybe a tiny bit soft, but gosh, it's those direction changes though. Honestly, what they've done to the chassis, those small adjustments, you simply wouldn't believe they could add up to make such a big difference. But in the standard car, which is a pretty precise and accurate thing given its size, you do get a little bit of a delay. When you turn in, it's just a fraction of a second before the nose really responds. That's not the case with this car. Honestly, it's almost mid-engined in the way it gets into bends. And of course, you've got that huge front contact patch. I mean, it doesn't really understeer, this car. So you've got this amazing turn-in response paired with instant balance. Wow. Wow. The response. And the way it will just take some attitude with all that torque, like comfortably and quite safely. It's fantastic. It really indulges you, this car, and I think that's why it's so lovable. It just indulges you. It's as simple as that. Makes things easy. It's a cliche to say that cars make you feel like a bit of a hero, but this car really does. Just incredible breadth. You don't need to be driving it at 8 or 9 tenths to really enjoy it. I mean, the 300 people who have secured coupes, I mean, well bloody done, because you got yourself one of the great Aston Martins in the traditional Aston mould, and therefore you've got yourself one of the great performance cars of all time. It really is that good, this car. It's a sensation.
So the DBS 770 Ultimate, ancient infotainment system aside, is a rolling wonder and a car currently without peer. It's one hell of a way to sign off arguably Aston's most compelling car of the modern era, and the same approach applied to future Gaydon products ought to result in some very special GT cars. Fingers crossed Aston can deliver.
Bye.